Today, I'm going to demonstrate the multiple layers of protection that a modern-day business should demand from their next-generation anti-malware solution. We are all potential targets and have important data that we want to keep private and secure. We don't want people to be able to steal it via malware, or like in this case, we don't want people being able to encrypt it and demand a ransom from us for the ability to access our own data. Take the machine I have here as an example. I've stored some treasured family pictures along with some key financial data which I keep in the spreadsheet. Oh look, I've also got an email. It's from HR informing me that I'm eligible for an equity grant. It just requests that I download the stock application and execute it to receive my grant. So obviously that's what I do. Luckily, I have McAfee Endpoint Security running in the background, and it tells me that this could do some damage and it has blocked it. But imagine if this was a new piece of malware and the signature didn't exist. We can create that scenario by disabling our signature scanning capability. Now, when I download the application, I am able to execute it as if a signature didn't exist, as would be the case for a really new strain of malware. But because we have a layered defense, we are now able to block the malicious behaviors with dynamic application containment. Here we can see that even though it executed, its behaviors have been blocked. Unfortunately, cybercriminals are constantly trying to defeat these models, so I'm wondering what would happen if they found a way to package it so that it performed different behaviors. Again, we can simulate that scenario by switching off dynamic application containment. Now, when we execute the stock application, it will look like a brand new piece of malware that can't be detected by signatures and is the tiny minority of malware that still finds a way to execute. So let's try that. It's been allowed to execute on this occasion and it has encrypted my important files. But with behavioral machine learning, we are able to identify its actual behavior as malicious, and after the process is convicted, we are also able to roll back any damages that it has caused with enhanced remediation, even if the files have been encrypted. The great thing about catching malware this way is that bad guys can disguise the code in any number of ways to appear harmless before it executes, but once it starts executing, it will by definition behave maliciously. But the potential downside is that something like ransomware might have already begun encrypting your files. Luckily, our enhanced remediation feature can automatically recover those files so that with McAfee Endpoint Security, you won't have lost a thing. While we here at McAfee understand that no one piece of technology is capable of blocking everything, by providing multiple layers of defense augmenting each other allows every technology to cover the gaps of a single technology. This allows the entire solution to provide maximum protection without introducing false positives. Now let's take a look at detecting and investigating threats with McAfee mVision EDR. McAfee mVision EDR is an advanced endpoint detection and response solution that provides precise threat detection as well as artificial intelligence-driven guided investigations. The AI is able to accelerate triaging the incidents as well as identifying key investigative artifacts rapidly. Okay, let's get started and take a tour of mVision EDR. Here we can see the monitoring dashboard. On the left, it provides threats identified by McAfee mVision EDR's behavioral analytics engine in the cloud. File and fileless threats can be detected. Here we can see the stock plan executable that we just saw. Multiple behavioral elements from the endpoint are analyzed at once to ensure that the threats displayed are actual high-confidence threats and not just noisy alerts, relieving your team from wasting time chasing down worthless leads and allowing them to prioritize what the real threats to the business are. After a threat is selected, the dashboard dynamically adapts its contents based on the selected threat. Listed in the threat behavior section are the MITRE attack techniques leveraged by the threat, providing us a common vocabulary for security professionals, allowing for a more consistent and faster incident response process. Also listed is a detailed explanation of the observed behavior, and we can see that mVision EDR has the intelligence to understand that it's a combination of indicators that constitute a legitimate threat, not just a single behavior. Even though mVision EDR can detect every suspicious element, we just want to show the true threats within the environment. We also have the ability to see the process trace of the threat, which can show us activities such as the parent or child processes, network connections, registry modifications, or file activity. When we click on an individual element, we can see the details such as the command parameters of this PowerShell command, or the network details and DNS information. We can also see all the systems that were impacted by the threat listed right here. Since we send all activity from the endpoint to the cloud, we can see the historical trace even if the system is offline. Here we can see the trace data for a 48-hour window from the time of the attack. It is organized into several categories to easily provide you with the information that you're looking for. For example, we can see all the scripts that were written to the system or if any of the built-in admin tools were used. We can also see if there were any new entries to the AutoStart extensibility points, ASEP, or in other words, if any programs established persistence and forced itself to start up automatically after a reboot. Okay, now I'm just going to go back to the monitoring dashboard. From here, we can quarantine the device to protect the rest of the environment. We can easily quarantine the system by selecting it and using the drop-down to quarantine it. Now that the system is isolated, I can continue the investigation by creating a new investigation. When I create an investigation, mVision EDR gathers all the data and uses an AI-powered expert system to identify key artifacts without requiring a skilled analyst to comb through all the data. In this investigation, we can see that there are a total of 682 artifacts. These artifacts can include things such as file hashes, IP addresses, domain names, and more. If a human had to analyze each item, for example search for a file hash in multiple threat intelligence sources or identify the purposes behind each registry entry, the process could take an exorbitant amount of time. This is one of the reasons why it takes so long to respond to a breach. With an investigation driven by mVision EDR, it will use a series of built-in hypotheses for each artifact and identify any key findings automatically, without requiring the associated manual effort. These hypotheses were created by extensive research into incident response and security operations centers around the world. We can also show all the questions available or see the questions in the context of the MITRE ATT&CK matrix as well. Anyhow, getting back to our investigation, we can see that out of the 682 artifacts, mVision EDR has identified 8 key findings that are potentially significant to this investigation. This allows the analyst to focus on those without all the preceding effort of the investigative steps required to identify them. This massively reduces the time required to investigate an incident and help coaches your team on how to perform future investigations. Looking at the key findings, I can see that there are 17 uncommon processes within the environment. I can select one of these processes and see the details. Here, we can see that this process has never been seen in the National Software Reference Library, it's never been seen by McAfee's Global Threat Intelligence, and it's never been seen within the company. Obviously, that's extremely suspicious and may be a sign of a new or targeted attack. Looking at the files with malicious file reputations, I can select the file for additional details. With the drop-down, I can see if this file is on any other systems within the environment, which can tell me if this file has spread or if there are multiple systems that are impacted by this threat. I can also see its reputation in McAfee Global Threat Intelligence as well as in VirusTotal. Here, I can also see that the system has communicated with malicious IP addresses. When I select an IP address, I can see its VirusTotal reputation. With the drop-down, I can also see if any other system has also communicated with that address by using SIM or NetFlow data. Another intelligent ability that mVision EDR has is the ability to automatically associate any similar cases based on the artifacts discovered. This can show me if a threat has spread or if there's a larger incident beyond what was initially discovered. When reviewing the artifacts of an investigation, mVision EDR can also provide different lenses that can be used to visualize the attack on a system. With the graph view, we can see how many artifacts are part of the key findings. And finally, in addition to just using data gathered from the trace, we can also pull additional data from a SIM, McAfee EPO, or from the endpoint itself to further enhance the investigation without leaving the mVision EDR console. This allows us to easily augment the data gathered without switching from one console to another. So, as we have seen, mVision EDR is a powerful EDR solution that provides high-quality threat detection along with AI-guided investigations. This allows you to maximize the effectiveness of your analysts without overwhelming them with noisy alerts.